November and December with folks that are homeowners inviting family and friends to their houses, realizing the square footage they have in their abode might be a little tight, and then folks start thinking about listing homes around this time of year.
You know, it happens regularly. Our good friend Joe Gentile is calling me. I have to hang up the phone there. So this is, most folks think that November and December kind of the market slows down, but it actually really, at least for us, picks up a little bit. And I think a lot of it is that kind of thinking. But, you know, 2021 and 2020 is not 18 and 19, so we're just going to take a dive into that. And boy, I hopefully we'll get a little bit to Monday Night Football, because that was pretty awesome to watch the two Mannings go at it.
He loved Peyton and Eli doing the play-by-play. A lot of comedy, a lot of humor, an appearance by Tom Brady. Tom Brady threw a 600 touchdown pass this past Sunday, got the football from his fan, and as a thank you to the fan, gave him a Bitcoin. Must be good to be that fan. The Buccaneers also gave him season passes for the rest of the year and next season, plus signed footballs.
You know what I learned about that?
What's that?
That whole home team has the football, and how the football is like conditioned. I did not know that. I did not know that the football actually gets conditioned. The equipment guy is that was that whole Brady thing, unless it was a joke.
Defecate is what it was called.
Really?
Yeah, so you're right.
What'd you say?
It's called defecate. Yeah, because they deflated the football to a level that the quarterback liked. They also have footballs for kickers, a K-ball, and each of those footballs are provided by the trainers of their respective teams. So you get a little bit of this, you get a little bit of that, a little scotch of this, and a little pinch of that.
Kind of reminded me a little bit of...
What's that?
What they did is a little bit of you and me on Real Talk, and going back and forth and having a good time.
Peyton and Eli, and today's show is going to be very much the same. Judah Wickower, we're in your hands with markets green across the board, and Tesla hitting a $1 trillion+ valuation. Absolutely amazing. Judah Wickower, we're ready to rock and roll. Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness. We are live in Charlottesville, across the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seville Network. Real Talk presented by Intrastate Service Company, a home's best friend. ISC since 1969 is making happy customers happier every single day of serving their houses and their needs. Judah Wickower is our director. My friend, if we can go to the studio camera and welcome the star of the program, Mr. Keith Smith, the distinguished gentleman.
Thank you, sir. That was a great show yesterday.
It was.
The Wells are a wonderful family, and we've all known each other for decades, and they're just wonderful folks. So, you know, we're going to talk recap a little bit from yesterday's show into today, and then we're a little bit later on the show, we're going to have an announcement about two folks that are showing up on Friday to replace you and I for a show, because you and I are busy doing something else, and two characters, for lack of a better name, is going to come in on Friday, and maybe they'll do a little get out the vote call and talk about things. But in your intro before the cameras went hot, you were talking about the market, and it was funny. We both had a little bit of a sleepless night thinking about things like this, and at some level, it's just like, okay, inventory. We need more inventory. And at some point, you kind of get what else can we talk about? But the reality of it is we need more inventory, and it's struggling on how to get there. I mean, I was just taking a look at, we do on Monday, the Monday Market Monitor, and I was just taking a look at 2 months ago. This was in the beginning of August, a little bit more than 2 months ago. We were on par. We were bringing about 90 homes on the market and about 94 going off. This last week, we brought 62 homes on the market. 102 went went into pending. So we're kind of going in the wrong direction as far as inventory is concerned. And, for those who are watching, particularly of the real estate agents or the realtors out there, they like that, huh?
Very nicely done,
I got
Keith.
it done. What can, please chime in. What ideas, what can we do collectively to help increase this inventory? Because, building more, of course, is the right answer, in my opinion. But
that's not going to be short-term solution.
It's not, no. I was reading something about what's going on between the House and the Senate and the president and their incentives, and there's a baked in, depending on which package gets ultimately approved, but there's some baked in affordable housing incentives. One of them is like $15,000, and I just thought to myself, well, that is great, but what is the unintended consequences of that? Mm-hmm. Right, and the way they're supposedly setting it up is that it would be a tax credit supposedly at the closing table, or somehow or another this money is going to come to that. But isn't that going to put more of a stress on the inventory?
Well, there's the Jonas Smith, hello. Nicholas Herpy, hello.
Hey, Nick.
CMO, Emergent Financial Services. He says Peyton and Eli don't have the star power of Batman and Robin on Real Talk. Nick Herpy, you are A-plus people, my friend.
I was actually thinking of him this morning. He'd be a fun guy to have here today.
Oh, I love Nick Herpy. I love Nick Herpy in the broadcasting setting. And Nick, I sincerely mean that, my friend. There's some speculation that the foreclosures that are on the horizon and or the individuals that are homeowners that purchased houses at their cap, at the most expensive stratosphere that they could afford, and now are having to maintain those homes with some wear and tear on their homes over the last 18 to 24 months, that could create more inventory for this little real estate ecosystem.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But it's not going to be the volume that was in 2008, 2010, through that thing. It's just not going to be that volume, primarily because most folks have more equity in their home than they had at that particular time. I think interest rates, obviously, this is stuff that we've been talking about show after show. I think interest rates, but the reality of it is, I was trying to think of a verbal descriptive of this.
Okay.
The bottom line is the buyer pool is 12 feet deep.
Uh-huh.
The inventory pool is a foot deep or 2 feet deep. And even if there's a little bit, interest rates go up, maybe a little bit more of the foreclosure. And foreclosures is not really going to happen. What's going to happen is the banks are going to say, sell your house.
Right.
Right. Which is great, which means more inventory on that end of it. So we're not going to go into this crisis end of it because the banks, I don't think, want to own property anymore. I think they've been through this before on that end of it. But let's say, so that 12-foot pool of buyers goes to 10-foot or 8-foot. It's just, we've got to get this balance up. And, frankly, the good news is, and it's a long time out, we have several thousand new construction units that are potentially going to hit the market, but that's going to trickle in over 12, 24, 36, 48 months. And that's, in this business...
That's an eternity.
That's an eternity.
Yeah.
It's a long time. But I do want to go back to the wells a little bit.
Sure.
Yesterday and ISC. So some of the things that folks might want to consider, we're all agreeing that 2022 inventory is going to go up. I don't think in a huge way it's going to go up, but it's going to go up incrementally up. I think the buyer pool is going to drop a little bit. The inventory is going to go up a little bit. New construction is going to come on. Interest rates. This is really the right time to bring in somebody like ISC to tackle your kitchen, tackle your bathrooms. Maybe try to work on that over the next couple of months. I know it's the holidays and people don't want folks in your home, but that may be the right time to do it as far as scheduling goes for ISC, but also the market. I think you're going to see a super strong spring market. Strong is a relative thing, right? It's kind of strong now. So how much stronger can it get, right? But it's I think now's the time to do that. And we were trying to touch a little bit yesterday on the show. It's also super important to look at your aging systems in your home. Because let's say the price point is X. It's a little. Let's say we're at this price point, and as you said earlier, I think we're going to drop back to somewhere between a 3 to 6% year-over-year increase of value year over year. We're not going to have these double-digit jumps. I'm confident of that.
Yeah.
All the smart doctors all say that. Here's the deal. Now's the time to go ahead and get that roof replaced if it's at the end of its life.
If you can find someone to do it.
I got a guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
ISC is the guy that's going to do it for you.
Yeah. A lot of these contractors and a lot of these subs are booking 90 to 120 days out.
So we just replaced our roof.
Yeah.
Our
neighbors waited 3.5 months to get somebody to do their roof.
Yeah.
3.5 months. So think about that when your roof is at its at the end of its life, and then you have to wait another 90 days.
Well, what happens with that potentially in that 3 months? The way these roofs go, recovering.
They go quick.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So
water's not something you mess with.
Water, or if we happen to get a lot of snow this year, snow sitting will kind of go through the system. But yeah, we were fortunate. We were able to get somebody in a couple of weeks, and actually didn't have to pay extra for it. I got a fence getting put up today.
Very nice.
Because we got. But go back to the thing is we replaced our second story heating and cooling system 2 years ago. Our bottom unit is the original one from 2020. It's like on life support. I can't get a unit. We can't get one. And, if that, to your point, if that craps out on me, I don't have heat in the lower level of my house. So we'll go snuggle with the dog on the second story.
Forrest, get ready, baby. Let me throw this to you guys. And this is a topic that's coming up on the feed. This is from Jackson. You guys talk about inventory issues on the show. Have you talked this point with the real estate market not having anything for these folks to sell? It's just a matter of time till you see that number of 1,200 agents start dwindling to under 1,000.
Yeah, that's
good question, Jackson.
It's a great question.
Because if you don't have something to sell, you can't make any money. And if you can't make any money, you're not going to stay in business.
Yeah. So I'm on, in full disclosure, I'm on the car board. So obviously I have to be a little careful in the answer on that end of it. But the reality of it is I've been doing this for 3 decades, that the count of agents go up and go down depending upon the market. Look, let's face it, the entry level is pretty low, to get in. But in order to do this job well, it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and to be a trusted advisor. Look, it'll fluctuate up and down, but there is a factor in that, right? The number of agents could impact it.
It's just like the restaurant business. I've said, and Stephanie Wells Rhodes, welcome to the program.
Hey, Stephanie.
Stephanie, your brother and your father absolutely crushed it yesterday. And showing the emotion Mr. Wells showed, I thought was sincere and genuine and contagious and just fantastic content for a talk show. I thought he did a heck of a job.
I was choking up there. I was holding it back.
Yeah, he's a great man. He's a great leader. Mr. Wells is a great leader.
So Stephanie did my information help with Fluvanna County. Hopefully she's able to get in front of some folks in Fluvanna County to help on a bill that she's trying to do.
There you go. So this is what I want to throw to you guys. Restaurants and realtors are literally the 2 most competitive industries of business in Central Virginia.
Well, we're the second in GDP in the state, so there's a reason for it.
Well, let's just talk Central Virginia.
Got it.
There's no more competitive categories of business. Restaurants is number 1. Realtors is number 2.
Not in volume, though.
I'm talking about competition, options to eat. You look everywhere on a corner. We're the 14th per capita in the nation for amount of restaurants by population.
So I was touring some folks out from LA over the weekend, trying to find some property for their 2 daughters who are attending UVA, and he goes, "What's up with all the restaurants here?" I said, "Well, you know, we're awesome. You know, that's a, you know, we're very fortunate to have a plethora, I like that word, a plethora of of restaurants to pick from. But I got to tell you, it's got to be hard to make $1 at it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's gotta
and
be
it's
hard
the
to make
same thing with realtors. I mean, you have,
Well,
how many realtors you have in car?
12, but let's talk nation.
Over 1,200, right, in
Yes,
car?
1,000. I don't really know the number, to be perfectly frank.
And that
with you.
doesn't include the commercial ones that aren't licensed realtors.
Well, they're not part of CAR.
They're not part of CAR.
There's a few commercial. It's important to point out there are a few commercial agents that are part of CAR.
Of part of CAR.
But
there are a lot of commercial agents that are not a part
yeah,
of
that's
CAR.
a whole different animal.
Yeah.
All
Lee
together.
Hughes, a good example.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So I would say what would you say are the two most competitive industries of business in Central Virginia?
Not talk shows, that's for sure. But
That's why I like doing this.
Yeah.
Makes things fairly nice, doesn't it?
Competitive. You know, I think you need to define what competitive.
Competitive means you have the most competition. That means you have car dealerships. There's a lot of them everywhere.
Yeah.
Restaurants, there's a lot of them out there. All chomping for the same slice of the pie.
So the math, what you're trying to get me to get to, is the math. And if inventory is down, right, and the agent count stays up, there's less of a pie for everybody to
There's
do
not
that.
enough pie to go around.
So the play off of that a little bit, and so I'm trying to architect so I don't get myself too much trouble here. But so those who may watch the show know I sit on UVA's affordable housing, and particularly on the community engagement team on that end of it. And I think I've told you this story before. I had a meeting with some, let's call it the C-suite of UVA.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, you must be doing really, really well. And I said, we are. Thank God we are. We're doing very well. We're very blessed. We're very fortunate to do that. We've been doing it a long time, right?
Right. 87?
87, yeah. But you knew the answer.
I do know that. I mean, we all know that.
87. But, you know, and I had to look these C-suite executives in the face who had all these great PhDs and pretty smart people. And I go, do you know how I make money? Do you know how I actually pay my mortgage and how I put food on the table and how I send kids to college and how I pay for weddings and all this stuff? If I can't find a house for you to buy and close on, guess what? I don't get paid. So, you know, that's impacting everybody. I think that's the genesis of the conversation, the question. The genesis of
that's what Jackson's asking.
Is that, look, if inventory is down, I'm not making as many sales as I did 2020, 2019, or whatever it is, it impacts the bottom line. And it surely does. And we're competing more and more. It's interesting. Let's not talk about CAR.
Sure. Well, Jackson adds, it's the same reason we see restaurants go in and out of business all the time.
So let's make this conversation we're having even worse.
Okay.
We now have realtors from Northern Virginia, from Richmond,
the other side of the mountain,
all coming into our marketplace.
And you know why that is?
Because they have no inventory there.
So
they have less inventory than we have.
And they have to expand their footprint.
They have to expand their footprint.
And you want to compound it? You ready how you compound it?
Sure.
Zillow.
Well,
Amazon. Trulia.
Amazon isn't quite in the housing space yet.
Not yet.
But it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah, so, well, that doesn't really impact it because 90-some-odd% of the Zillow transactions have a real estate agent attached to it. They're a broker no different than
But they
YRP.
shave margin.
Not that as much as you think they do.
Really?
Yeah, it's not as much as you think they do.
Okay.
They, you know, if you're thinking about iBuying, that's not in our marketplace.
Okay.
iBuying is in places like Phoenix and stuff like, which by the way they've cutting out because they're just not making any money at it because they just can't get, you know, what iBuying is they go into markets that have some maybe say depressed properties, and they go in and they buy them pennies on the dollar. So you know that sign on the side of the road, I buy houses?
Yeah.
Well, that's what this is. It's just a digital version of it. Well, we don't have that in our marketplace because we don't have, if we had more inventory than we had buyers, they would sure as heck, I think, the iBuyer end of it would be here. But Zillow is a broker just like any other broker, just like YRP and Keller Williams Alliance, Nest, and so forth and so on. But, you know, so to play off of this conversation, it is getting worse, right? The inventory isn't getting better. We have agents coming from outside of our market into our market. And, it's just, but here's the way I look at it. This is an opportunity for the pros to raise to the top, right?
Oh, yeah. One of a seasoned vet in your business, Tommy Brannick.
Yeah, Tommy.
Tommy, you'd say, is a seasoned vet.
He's a hero. He's unbelievable in this business.
Good dude.
Absolutely.
Okay, and Tommy, I'll tag you here in a second. He said when times get tough, 10 or 15% of the agents do 90% of the business.
Well, that's where we are now. I would say we're at, if you really take a hard look at it, it used to be 80-20 rule. We're probably closer to 90 and 10. But look, nationwide, 50% of the real estate agents out there do 0 transactions. So I don't know what the math is for car. That may be the case. I mean, I have not looked into it that much, to be frank with you. But I know historically, because you can look at NAR, National Association of Realtors, gives out this information, about 50% don't do anything. 0. Then I don't know what the rest of it does, a couple of transactions a year. So you have these part-time agents and so forth and so on.
And put in perspective, the rule of thumb, and correct me if I'm wrong, I learned this from another seasoned vet in your industry. I love chatting with you guys. You guys are entrepreneurs. You guys epitomize
well, that's an interesting, finish your train of thought. That's an interesting thing to talk about.
Every $1 million in gross real estate sales equals $20,000 in gross pay for the agent.
So that's an interesting concept because it's now changing.
Okay.
So there's all kinds of pressures on our industry, right?
For rev shares and splits.
Well, the commission rates are fluctuating up and down, backwards and forwards around 3%. Some it's a little higher, some it's a little bit lower on that end of it. So there's pressure on commission rates. We have more folks in the pool, lack of inventory. It's actually really hard in this space to be super successful at this, to make a successful. You probably know this number. What is nationwide the median gross income? I'm going to get this number not quite right, but the gross income for a real estate agent?
What's their take-home pay every year for a real estate agent?
Average. Medium.
This is across the country.
Across the country.
I'd say it's under 60K.
It's closer to 40.
Yeah.
So
you're
40,000.
making less than teachers.
40,000. Now, one could argue with 50% not making 0, it kind of skews the numbers a little bit, right? If you're a mathematician and a statistician, but nationwide, that's the stat according to NAR that the median gross commission income. So that's before you pay your expenses, by the way. So that's before you pay for your gas, that's before you pay for your cell phone, that's before you pay for all that stuff. It's somewhere in the low 40s, if I remember the number correctly.
Kerry Rock, he has this question.
Hey,
Kerry Rock, we love you.
Hey, thank you for your service, brother.
Absolutely, Kerry. And remember, Kerry, we're lining up an early November interview slot for you here. Kerry Rock says this, Keith, you ready?
Got my pen.
With the lack of inventory and increase in realtors in this area, does this now create a market for buyers and sellers to shop around for different agents at a higher clip?
So that's interesting. According to NAR's own statistics,
more comments coming in. Get ready, baby.
I am and I didn't bring the statistics with me, so I'm shooting from the hip a little bit here. And
I like when you do that.
When a Marine does that, it's a little bit scary.
I like when you do that.
But according to NAR's generational report, most people basically just go with the first real estate agent that they don't shop around realtors.
That's bananas.
They don't shop around. Well, look, the
most difficult decision in your life outside of who you marry, and you're going with your first pick without doing market research.
Well, they research enough of them that they do it on that's why what you do for us for YRP and for Yona and I is so important, because you've got this information out there in the space and you develop this as trusted advisor on that end of it. The other interesting thing is once I have you as a client, and
you have them for life.
We proved ourselves. We did our POP, right? Proof of performance on that end of it. Look, generally, how we get our business, this is fun. I love doing the show. I love doing all this stuff.
Referrals.
But it's referrals, right? You know, Kerry refers us to Yona or to me or whatever, and that's generally how this business works, because we talk about this all the time. The millennial buyers, 38% of all the sales from up 2020. 2021 numbers haven't come out yet. They all 100%, 97% of them start on this iPhone that I'm holding in my hand. And I've said this more than once on the show. And then eventually they put it down because it is overwhelming, this process, and you want to have a trusted advisor to help you get through it. And truth is, I usually, this is a Michael Guthrie saying that I've totally stole, and every time I talk about it on the show,
I'll tag the Michael Guthrie right now.
every time I talk on the show, I give him credit for it. I usually start my conversations with, do I have permission to be honest? And sometimes what we might have to tell people, this is not the right time to buy. Your circumstances, whatever, once we take a look at it and help them, this may not be the right time to buy. Personally, you might have to wait a little bit longer, get in front of a Scott Morris, get in front of some folks to help you kind of retool some of your finances to get to that point that you're ready to pull that trigger. And the other thing is on the selling side, the Wells were here yesterday. I just loved that conversation. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, we can't get you this amount of money for the house because your roof is beyond its life, right? Your HVAC systems are 20-something years old. We either need to take into consideration these, or let's fix them. Let's call the Wells in. Let's call ISC.
ISC, baby.
ISC, right. What was that? We had you reminded me in
full service, baby.
Full service. That's it. Full service, right?
Full service, Stephanie.
Go ahead and change the roof out. You will get closer to this number.
Here's the question I have for you, and this is a good question for people.
Kerry, thanks for the question, man.
Kerry Rock, good question. Jamie Turner, we're going to get to your questions here in a matter of moments. Kerry Rock, keep them coming. Scott Morris, we love you, homie. Michael Guthrie, props to you. Jamie Turner, I'm going to ask yours next. Grayson, yours is coming right after Jamie Turner's. Keep the questions coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. So here's the question I have for Smith. You ready for this?
Yes, Miller.
Here we go.
Yeah, I've got a pen. I'm good.
Why?
Got a meeting. Got to go.
If you're selling your home and you need a $30,000 roof.
Yeah.
Are you better?
That's a lot of roof, by the way, but go ahead.
Okay, let's say $20,000 roof. Let's make it more. What's a good? 15 to 20?
Just call it 15. That's close.
Okay, 15K roof.
Yeah, it's a lot of roof, but yeah.
Okay, so 15K roof.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just adjust the price upon listing as opposed to doing?
Well, that's the point I'm making.
Yeah. So you were, okay, is that the path you would take? You would you do the walkthrough with the seller.
Sure. And
say, you need a new roof. We got to shave 15K off it.
Yeah.
Or do you go at actual price and say, look, we know we need the roof, and come negotiation time, we're going to shave 15 as an olive branch and use that as a negotiation strategy.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. We're not negotiating like that much right now.
Okay.
Right?
Because you're saying the sellers have so much leverage. Is that what you're saying?
It's both, actually.
Okay.
So I can tell you of the half a dozen buyers I'm working with right now, the first thing out of their mouth is what? The first thing out of their mouth is,
what's top dollar I can get?
No.
Whoa.
I apologize. I meant buyers. I apologize.
Okay.
Buyers.
Okay.
I screwed up.
Okay.
I have half a dozen buyers right now.
Okay.
What's the first thing out of their mouth right now? What do they not want to do?
They don't want to do, the first thing, you told me the first thing they ask is fiber internet.
Yeah. Okay.
You told me that.
Damn, I hate doing this with you.
The second thing is probably, I don't want to do any repairs.
Well, we're beyond that. We've got the fiber internet.
Okay.
Internet is done, all this kind of great stuff.
Okay.
Almost every one of my buyers, with the exception of probably Jerry Miller, says, I don't want to negotiate.
Really?
They do not want to negotiate. They do not want to go into...
That's my favorite thing to do in the world.
I know that. Like I said, except for Mr. Miller, right? Maybe Mr. Smith also. But
you love to negotiate.
I will tell you, that's probably our strongest...
And you're good
tool.
at it. You're exceptional at it.
Oh, thank you.
That's why you guys should consider Yes Realty Partners and Keith and Yona Smith. Dude knows how to negotiate like the Pope knows holy water.
A little bit. I don't want to say I'm the Pope, but, But look...
You're street smart.
Thank you. That's what growing up in Brooklyn in the 60s and 70s do for you.
Right.
The reality of it is most buyers do not want, and if whoever realtors are watching, maybe they can contradict me on this. Most buyers don't want to negotiate. These people that I'm helping, like, okay, I'll pay the price. I'm good. Let's take a look at what I have to do to the home. Do I have enough capital to go ahead and put in to go ahead and do it? They don't want to negotiate. This is why pricing the home now, people don't realize this is so important. Because a lot of buyers will look at that and they'll say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Miller wants to buy a home. And we're looking at the home. One of the things we're going to do, the trusted advisor, the realtor, I think I got that right.
You did?
The realtor.
Should I give you some props? Let's give the man some props right there.
Well, we've got a image for Friday for that with our special guests that are coming in on Friday. But the one of the first things that we do is I'm going to do a CMA on that house, of course, an analysis on that home, and I'm going to say, look, guys, it's the top end of the market where we are right now, or it's not, or it's right, it's priced right, or it's under, But if you're overpriced, you kind of lose eyes pretty fast because this percentage of buyer pool, I just don't want to negotiate. I'm going to give you a fair price, good terms. Okay, if you don't want it, great, not a problem. We move on. Because what happens is the buyer starts getting emotionally attached to the home, right? And that's a tough conversation to have. Don't fall in love with the house until you have the set of keys. This is a conversation we have all the time. But if you overprice it, your eyeballs go down drastically that look at it. Because people are on this stuff all the time. They know.
See days on market. They see
they
views.
know where the value is in the market, and I don't want to overpay, and you will reduce some of the buyer thing. But then on the other hand, that's why the wells are so important. ISC is that it's interesting conversation we had yesterday, and it's something that we're going to start employing on our listing. We do it. We actually bring home inspectors in on Yona and I's listings to look at a home. I kind of get an eyeball on it, have an idea because of my background. But we bring in a home inspector and say, okay, take a look at this thing, see what you think on that end of it, and see how that might impact the sale. The other thing that was very interesting with the wells said they'll come in and take a look at it. So if we think there's the M word in the crawl space, you really want to address that now before you put it on the market. And why do you want to do that?
Well, that terrifies moms.
It makes
terrifies wives.
Look, the road bumps.
The M word is
mold.
Mold.
We're not allowed
mold.
to say what is it? Fungi. That's what
mold.
Fungi. We're supposed to call it fungi.
If you have it, you call ISC, baby.
Or the doctor, either one of the two, depending on which fungi you have.
Well, that's foot fungi. You hope you don't
I know
have,
that.
Okay,
I
that's
know.
a podiatrist.
I know.
Is that a podiatrist?
No, it wouldn't be a podiatrist.
What's a foot doctor?
It's a podiatrist, but
okay, what are you talking about?
But you don't go call a podiatrist for fungi. You go to your regular doctor.
You call a podiatrist for foot fungi, don't you, Judah?
You do not do that.
Do you call a podiatrist for foot fungi?
Do I have to call my son-in-law the doctor?
Yes. Do you not call Judah, can you look that up? Do you call a podiatrist for foot fungi?
You don't.
You do not call a podiatrist for foot fungi?
Why would you go to a podiatrist for fungus?
You're saying, why would you go to a foot doctor for a foot issue?
We're talking about athlete's foot.
Why would you go to a foot doctor for a foot issue?
I'm sorry, folks. We'll get back to house.
No. We need to figure this out, Keith Smith. You go to a podiatrist for foot
somebody
fungi.
who's a lot. Can somebody chime in and
somebody help us out here? We really do not know
question.
the answer to this. Do you go to a podiatrist for foot fungi?
Dermatologist or podiatrist.
Thank you. He says dermatologist or podiatrist.
Did we bet anything?
You go to a foot doctor if you have foot issues.
Well, I go to my doctor for 32 years.
You go to your GP for foot fungi?
Not that I have any.
Not that there's anything wrong with
Not
that.
there's anything wrong. Look, so
God.
it's important to check all these boxes and be in front of the game, to do your pregame, right? Before you start listing a home. That is super important in any market, and I would say even in this market right now, because what's going to happen is, let's assume it's priced right. and you walk in and you take a look at it, and we're going to stick our head in the crawl space. Another part of things that we're doing with buyers, because of the rapidness of sale right now, we're bringing home inspectors in with us to take a look at it. We're paying them a little extra money, $100, whatever it is, to show up and walk through it. But if they stick their head in the crawl space and say, we've got fungi growing you're going to get me in so much trouble, and fungi growing in it, then we know that's going to get gigged at home inspection. We know that, right? It will get gigged. So we usually try to do this pre-listing. Let's try to figure out, okay, let's get it fixed. Let's call in the wells. Let's call ISC. Let's get a quote. Let's get it fixed. If you don't want to get it fixed, then you get a quote on it. So when it comes to negotiations time, you can say, look, here I have a quote to fix it, whatever. But it will get gigged. And we're seeing more and more of these deferred maintenance, is what I call them, issues showing up, at least we are, in transactions.
Call it deferred maintenance is not keeping up with the wear and tear of a home in real time.
That's exactly right. So if, again, heating, cooling, HVAC systems, I'm just putting on my old...
Larry Rhodes taught me this. Change your filters. Right, Larry
Oh,
Rhodes?
my God. Well,
change your filters.
So here's an interesting thing that let's just talk about that for a second. Most folks, for some reason, don't do this. We religiously do this. This is how we got 21 years out of our systems. Have your units serviced twice a year.
Yeah.
Most folks don't do that. Service it in the spring.
Speaking of real talk, you know what you need.
Yes, we need an HVAC guy.
I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them out there.
We're already on it.
Okay.
We
have a lot of success with Mr. Clyde Smith.
We can bring a bunch of folks in there, but would be a great conversation. I'm also working on bringing a couple of home inspectors in to have that conversation.
Maybe a landscaping company.
Maybe a landscaping company.
Let me throw Jamie Turner to you. Ready for this, Smith? There's a lot coming in for you. Jamie Turner, Mr. Gordonsville, Mr. Woodbury Forest, one of the finest alums of Woodbury Forest, the mayor of Gordonsville.
Have you ever been to Woodbury Forest?
Oh,
You
yeah.
have, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't had an opportunity,
That's amazing.
It is an unbelievable
college campus.
Absolutely. My youngest daughter swam a bunch of competitive meets there. It's a really neat.
Walsingham Academy took it to you, Jamie Turner. I'm just going to say that. We may be a little different in age, but Walsingham Academy took it to your Tigers, baby. Jamie Turner says this.
We're talking trash? Is that what we're doing?
I was talking a little smack to Mr. Gordonsville there. Jamie Turner says this. What are some questions you should ask when shopping around for agents? It's a good question.
Wow, that's a great question. A lot of it is relationship on how if you guys have this chemistry that meet. The way I kind of look at these things,
Hello, Scott Morris.
Hey Scott, these are like little marriages that you're going to enter into it, because you're going to have to go through. Now, if we're on the buy side, right now, we're spending a lot of time together.
Put in perspective.
Well, it's
months,
if not longer than that. Right? We need to sit down, have a conversation with you, understand what your goals and objectives are, get you with somebody like Scott right away.
Love Scott Morris.
And find
He's
out.
the guy you should call.
Find out
You're getting jacked, Scott Morris. I see you working out, dude.
Well, they had a pig roast
I know he did.
on the thing.
And dude is getting after it in the gym every morning. Scott Morris may be the mortgage lender or officer that can do the most reps at 225 pounds on the bench in Central Virginia.
Sure.
Who would you stack up with Scott Morris?
I don't know.
On the bench press. Nobody else.
Oh, I'll have to do a little Facebook scamming. No, not scamming, but it was
Stalking.
Stalking. It was the wrong S word.
Stalking.
It was the wrong S word. I was close. Oh God! I told you what Yona said to me this morning.
What did you say to you this morning? This is
a-
on the morning walk?
on the morning walk.
What'd you say?
We do every walk. And
I've been thinking, sweetheart.
that's literally
And whenever,
and the dog just like turned and talked. You know how a dog twists their head, like, really? And my wife just laughed her ass off and said, okay, you need to stop that. You stop that
She
thinking.
did not do
no,
that.
she didn't say that. But the dog did go like that.
Forrest.
Forrest went, really?
God.
So to go back to that question is A, you got to spend a lot of time together. B, you've got to get a relationship established, right? That's why referrals are so important, because I've already established a relationship on that end of it. But if you have not established a relationship, sit down and, this is a great thing to look at, how much sales they have, how much this, that, and the other thing. do that right there. Do what's on the picture right there. Have a cup of coffee with the agent.
Studio camera, get that,
Oh,
get
sorry
that
about
picture in
that.
there. Studio camera so they can see what's on the big screen over there.
So have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea, whatever. Say, it's no different than when we're going to bring a guest on the show, right? If somebody I don't have a relationship with already, we go out for coffee and we have a conversation. And so we kind of get to know each other and oh God, you're smiling.
Jamie Turner's giving me a little zing back. Jamie Turner, you know I love you, homie. So Nick Erpy, who's about to be married.
He needs a house.
Some would say handcuffed.
No.
Married, handcuffed.
No.
Even though I'm giving him a zinger here.
No.
I was walking into a restaurant. Okay, we were walking into the mill room. My wife, my son, and I.
Good for you.
For brunch.
How is that I haven't been there since they renovated
Dynamite.
it. Really? Cool.
Boarset is dynamite. So
Got
we
it.
were walking into the mill room for brunch, and there was a wedding at the Boarset, and the father of the bride was there. He's got all his luggage with him.
Did he have that pale look about him?
It looked like he'd just been through the ringer, right? Okay. So I said, how'd it
feeling.
go? And he goes, went great. I hope my wife, my daughter has a long marriage. I go, how long have you been married? He goes, 34 years. 10 of them have been good. And my wife and I were just sitting here laughing our tails off. He goes, we've been married 34 years. 10 of them have been good.
Where's he from? Did he have a New York accent?
Once he said that, we started laughing. I could not stop laughing.
Oh, good Lord.
So Nick Erpy has this question.
Well, I have to tell you, we're coming up on 35 years. And hold it, we are at 35. We're coming up on 36 years. And it's been 35 plus years of nothing but good.
Well, that's amazing.
I mean that. I truly mean that. We have little ups and downs, little bumps here and there. But and to say that truly.
Okay, let me ask you this
And
question. We know your marriage is the gold standard of marriages.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay. How would you characterize parenthood?
Oh, so you have to be specific about parenthood at what stage of life?
In general. This is how I characterize it. And
So
you're a Hall of Famer, I'm not. You've been doing, how old's your oldest? 30?
35.
35? And your youngest is 25?
7, I think.
27? Better get that right. My kid's 3.5.
I constantly think she's 3.5.
My kid's 3.5. I characterize parenthood as the best, hardest thing ever, and the longest,
But
shortest
I'm
thing
going to
ever.
give you kudos. I saw a picture when you were playing squash, and he was in the background watching you.
Oh, he loves it.
Well, what I saw in that was you're trying to spend as much time as you can.
Oh, no doubt.
That's important.
No doubt.
And look, here's the thing about parenthood and marriages.
You're waxing poetic here.
No, it's truth.
Okay.
You're going to probably get more things wrong than right.
Okay.
And it's okay. That's okay. It's like business, right? Tend to make more mistakes than wins. There's more losses than wins. I mean, that's sometimes happens that way. Another thing, the same thing with working with a buyer, and that's why it just takes time. We're going to lose deals right now. That's just the way it is. And if you set that expectation going in, and you have that honest and open conversation, look, we're going to do what we can. We've got tools in our toolbox, right? Little tricks of the trade, as one would say, to go ahead and help win the day. But that's not going to happen every time, but we'll eventually get there. As far as raising a kid, I've been pushing to have number 2, so that's a whole different.
Thank you for offering your perspective on us procreating. Thank you. I'm grateful.
Well, it's the grandfather in me that's coming out on that end of it. But look, you're going to make a ton of mistakes.
Uh-huh.
Always be open and honest with them.
Amen.
Because they're going to know. At 3 years old, he knows. Whatever it is, he already knows it. He may not know it, but instinctively he knows it. And just try to be present as much as you can. And it's hard for us, right? We work 7 days a week.
Right.
It's just really hard. And
That's a tough aspect of being an entrepreneur. Nicholas Erpy, about to get married, I believe at the beautiful Greencroft Club. Am I right there, Nicholas Erpy?
Yep.
You're getting married there? Speaking of which, where should a family looking for a family home at this point begin with the market as it is today? Or is it just a matter of waiting it out at this point? Nicholas Erpy, that was one of your best questions in the history of the I Love CVille network.
so
Good question.
So the answer
First
is
time home buyer.
got it. The answer is now. It's always now. Why is it always now?
I can tell you why. You ready?
I don't drink my coffee. Go
Sure.
ahead.
Why it's always now, Mr. Erpy, Nicholas, social media ninja, chief marketing officer, super sharp, intelligent, handsome dude
Stop it, will you?
who loves history, classical
And opera.
music,
And opera.
smooth jazz, and Kenny G. I added the Kenny G and smooth jazz. The reason
You
is
were doing really good up until Kenny.
The reason is you fix your overhead, you lock in a 30-year mortgage, you're locking in your overhead from a housing standpoint. Rents are going up 4 to 5.5%, depending on where you're renting. On top of that, we're in a hot market. We have the benefit of the University of Virginia in our backyard, and with UVA in our backyard, historically, real estate values are going to uptick. So even if you buy at the peak of a market, which, let's cut to the chase, some
There
of us
isn't a
have,
peak.
There isn't a peak.
Yeah.
If it upticks 3.5%, even if it's at the peak of the market and you hold this investment long term, which the average home buyer is holding for about 10 years now, Keith Smith taught me that.
I'm just going to drink coffee.
You're going to do well.
You do the rest of the show.
You're going to
Absolutely.
do well.
Well,
is that right?
And then you add on to this because I taught a class for the Land Trust on Saturday,
Okay.
and this is great stuff. I absolutely love doing it. Love talking about Land Trust to folks that frankly given up, right? They just gave up, and they decided to come and listen to me. Go figure. And one of the things we talk about in their minds blow is the thing that we talked about with the Erpies, with Alex and the clan over there about the latte factor.
Okay, can we acknowledge this, Nicholas Erpy, Xavier Erpy, Alex Erpy, Michael Erpy, and Mrs. Erpy? We're talking about the latte factor while the distinguished gentleman has a latte in his hand.
It's half-calf. Does that make a difference?
He's got a latte in his hand. Okay, I'll stop now. You go ahead.
So what's your point?
I made this at home.
I make this at
This
home.
is coffee
Oh.
made at home.
I'm supporting local
Shenandoah
business.
Joe's, Dave Fafaro.
There
We
you
love
go.
Shenandoah Joe's.
I am supporting.
Dave, the coffee I'm drinking is your coffee from your Preston location. Ground up at my casa, which is house.
Thank you. Got it.
Go ahead.
So, it's the old, Nick is Catholic, it's the, don't ever be holier than the Pope, and don't preach water and drink wine. So, but just listen to me here.
Okay, I will.
So we went through the math for these particular units at Spring Hill, and they did not understand the benefit of compound interest. They didn't understand that. They didn't understand that. That's a poor choice of words. Nobody's ever explained it to them in a very simple, understanding way. But I went through the math on that, and the quickest way to build generational wealth is through home ownership. It's just proven. And, I was talking to him, if you sell the house in 10 years and it appreciates and so forth and so on, and the equity starts building up there, you can potentially put 75 to 100 grand in your pocket after that 10 years. And that's money that's yours. And I went through this and I said, look, if you watch, and I pulled up an amortization table and I said, watch, you put an extra $100 a month into this equation, look how much more money you make at year 10. I don't remember the number, but you make, it extrapolates the amount of capital that you put into your pocket over this period of time. And it's important to do that. And it's something that we're going to do here on the show. I'm kind of concocting a November-December series, probably on Friday, where we're going to kind of do like a first-time home buyer seminar kind of thing on this. Just, I haven't quite formulated it yet on that end of it. But yeah, now's the time to buy. It's always now the time to buy.
How often do you get that question?
Oh, all the time.
All the time, right?
The other question that I get
Interest
more...
rates, where are they going?
No.
What's the other one?
Should I sell?
Should I sell? Well, I hope you're telling them to sell right now.
Well...
You have no competition from a seller's market right
now.
Well,
the question is where is Keith and Jonas Smith going to go if I sell my house?
That's the challenge.
That's the real question on that end of it. And we talk about this all the time. There's tools out there that we can bring to the table. We got a deal closing today that is exactly what we talked about before. They're closing on the home today, and there's a lease back until January 1.
Think about that, boys and girls. We have a common client we'll leave it at that, who happened to get an offer he could not refuse
Sure.
during the Parade of Homes. Do you know how long the lease back was?
Oh, probably a year. More than a year.
You know why?
Is it more than a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't.
Because of the construction of a new home.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. So more than likely, it was a cash
You know
buyer.
what I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay.
So it was a cash buyer, I'm sure, right? So they're going to buy the home. It's probably somebody from outside the area. I mean, all this I have no idea. I'm just making assumptions.
No,
here.
you're 100% right.
Somebody from outside the area. It's just this isn't rocket science. Outside of the area came in. They had an X amount of cash. They probably are doing a 1031 exchange, I would imagine.
You're 100% right so
So
far.
we'll talk about 1031s here in a minute. They're probably doing a 1031 exchange. They get the tax benefit, and they lease it to Mr. and Mrs. Miller for X dollars a month, which, oh, by the way, that's a whole different tax structure, and we have to bring a CPA back in on this stuff. But in any event, so they're leasing it out to that, and in 2 years or 12 months or whatever the time frame is, they'll move into their new house. This person, whoever it is, more than likely is 2 years away from retiring, I would imagine. On this end of it, they're going to retire and move down.
Pretty damn good.
Is that about it?
Yeah, that's about it.
And we did not talk about this at all.
We did not talk about it.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good. It
Yeah.
sounds like you've been in the business since 1987.
I've been in the business since 1987.
And then the person that's selling the home is got the time and the runway to construct a new one.
Correct. And that is a tool, right? It's not for everybody, right? So the first time home buyer or the entry market level homes, that's a little bit more difficult to do because generally the rule of thumb, not the rule of, but generally what's happening is if we're at a lower, much substantially lower price point, trying to get into this first-time home buyer, this entry-level home, whatever that number is today on that end of it, more than likely they're either selling something else that they need the capital from the equity they've built into that to buy, or they're renting right now and they need to be out of the rental. It becomes a little bit more complicated at a lower price point. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. But generally, the higher price point, there's a little bit more capital on the table, a little bit more cash on the table to kind of work that out a little bit. But yeah, it's a tool.
One thing we should highlight, and this is a completely different topic, Keith, a completely different topic. We should highlight this, and then the first-time home buyer question is coming up again. We have Laura, I'll get to your comment here, and I'm empathetic for your plight here of striking out a handful of times as a first-time home buyer. We will get to this
we'll
topic.
talk about that.
Yeah. So this is a topic from Carter. You guys sound like you're talking about a builder. You should acknowledge the need why builders wait 2 years before they sell their house.
Well, that's a tax benefit.
Yeah.
You want to jump in on that? That's pretty
I mean,
simple.
You're former.
Yeah. So if it's a capital gains thing, you need to be in it for 2 years in order to do that. And if it's who I think we're talking about, they will be in that home long beyond that 2 year time span. But yeah, if you're doing that's a builder thing. The average person doesn't build a new house and move with less than 2 years. That's just not a common, doesn't mean it doesn't happen, right? There could be circumstances and so forth and so on. But typically, particularly a custom home, they're in it, for the long haul is typically how it is. So what about Laura?
So she wants to talk. She said, I've struck out 3 times. My family and I have struck out 3 times at purchasing a home. We've rented, and we know we're wasting our money, but it's time for us to buy. Unfortunately, we cannot do it, and now we're at the point where we have to consider renewing our lease.
Yeah.
Any advice for us? That's a tough spot. We're empathetic for that.
We're super empathetic to that. It's conversations I have every day. It's all I can say is don't give up, right? And there's all kinds of, and she can DM me.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
With the lease that she's about to sign, go to your landlord and see if you can do a shorter term lease. And sometimes the landlords will be willing to do this because they then can lease the place that you're at once you move up for higher than market value or what they're receiving from you right now.
Now I'll play counter to
Please,
that. The landlord's probably going to say no.
Or,
And-
I mean, the worst
and
thing
the-
they
and the
can
re-
say is no.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So great piece of advice. Look, so if you can get away from signing a long-term lease, that's the right answer. If you can do a month-to-month, the problem with that is you are putting yourself in jeopardy.
You have a little exposure if you don't buy a house.
If you don't buy a house, and if you do a month-to-month, or if you do a 3-month, or if you do a 6-month on that end of it, what you could potentially negotiate on the front end, that, look, I'm trying to buy a home. If I buy a home, what does it look like for me to get out of this lease, right? Sometimes you can buy yourself out of a lease. That's assuming you have the capital and all this kind of great stuff. But let's just face it. What's harder to find right now than to purchase something to lease? It's across the board not well. Look, you can please DM me. I need to find out if you're working with a real estate agent, and if you are, then I really can't talk to you because of agency laws. But if you're not, then I'd be more than happy to try to help. I just need to understand the background a little bit so I can offer some better advice.
And I will emphasize this. This gentleman here, Keith Smith, is very generous with his time. Some would say
yes.
too generous. But he's very generous.
So that was a dig off air on something.
Yona's nodding her head right now.
Yona's going,
Yona's-
really?
yeah.
So what he's talking about is the obscene amount of time I
He
spend.
volunteers.
I volunteer a lot.
So
But
here's what I want to throw to you is you're very generous with meeting for folks and
Yeah, totally.
offering consultation. You
we-
enjoy doing it.
I want to, even if the conversation is, look, I think it's in your best interest to lease for another year, then that's the advice that we're going to give you. What we want, and any real estate agent that's watching this wants the best for the client. Ultimately, that's what we want. And, it's just the way we do business, right? It'll take care of yourself on the back end. If you do the right thing on the front end, the back end will always take care of you on that end of it. But I need to kind of dig into the details, the who, what, when, and where, location, where's your where, what's your price point, have you been pre-qualified, and, it may be you may have to drive a little further out than you're prepared to drive or not.
Well, let me ask you this. How are the inventory levels in Louisa? How are the inventory levels in Waynesboro and Harrisonburg and Stanton?
Yeah, so
Are they better?
it's across the country. It's not better. Now, on the other side of the mountain, you might be able to get to a better price point, right? But you're still going to do the two. If it's like we talk about this, right? Can I do it?
Sure.
We talk about this all the time, right? It's 5 things, right? You ready to go? Ready for
I'm
it?
ready for it.
Location is number 1. Price is number 2.
Condition.
Features is number 3.
Condition.
You can interchange it. Condition and timing. Is it the right time for you to do this? So location, always figure out where's your where first. So figure, okay, where's my where? Where do I want to be? Do I need to be by a certain school system, right? Or do I need to be by a work, right? If I'm a nurse and I can't be any more than 30 minutes, I believe that's the rule of drive, or there's some distance
I mean,
required.
doctors too.
I
Certain
believe
doctors,
it's
yeah.
actually, I think it's doctors. I may
Yeah,
have that
30 minutes.
and maybe
One of
I'm-
my buddies was looking at where I live, and he couldn't do it because he was working at Augusta Health and had to be on the Crozet side.
I'm having the same conversation with my daughter and my son-in-law. He's in the residency. We don't know where his final home is going to be. It may be in Seattle. We don't know. And the reality of it is, in order for them to find something that they can get, they're going to have to go an hour and a half out. So the conversation is, Daddy, we're going to stay here, and they need to figure out where their where is first, right? That
Does
has
he call you daddy?
No.
Okay.
I think he calls me Keith, but I may be wrong.
Okay.
Nice job, Mr. Miller. So we need to figure out where's your where. Get a hold of Scott Morris. Find out what I can afford. Right? Where are my interest rates going? Right? This is another issue. As interest rates go up, your affordability, not affordable housing, but your affordability changes a little bit. Right? And do I have to, as we started this conversation with the Wells, this is, if I'm trying to find something that is in the right location, in a price point I can I feel comfortable with, right? Because most people buy a home by their monthly payment, unless it's the guy that bought that house that we were talking about that's sitting tight for 2 years. That was just a cash transaction. 1031 was a tax kind of thing. Most 99% of the world buys by their monthly payment. That's what they do. How much can I afford per month? So as interest rates go up, your per month number comes down a little bit.
How many cash transactions are you seeing now?
Not as many as you think.
Okay.
Not as many as you think. I would say with us.
How many 20% plus down payments are you seeing now?
That's ticking up a little bit.
Okay.
So, look. So let me finish that other train of thought, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So that's where condition and features are so important, right? So let's assume it has the right features, right? Whatever that might be, 2-car garage. In my age, master bedroom on the front. Condition's so important because if you don't have that reserve capital to put a new roof on that's going to leak 2 weeks after you're in the house, or the HVAC system that craps out on you, it's why what we do is if we're helping buyers, we always give them a home warranty, so at least they have some insurance policy for a year anyway when they move into the house. But what was that other question that you were asking me?
Cash.
Yeah.
Down payments over 20%.
So that's what you're probably competing against right now. What we're starting to see is these multiple offers are almost hitting the same exact number. So what it really comes down to, if you're representing a seller, what really comes down to
Best deal possible. Quickest to close possible.
Well,
safest possible. Less risk possible.
The rest of the terms and conditions of the contract.
Which is all the above.
Which is all of the above.
Yeah.
It could be time. It could be
lease back.
It could be lease back. It could be putting a certain amount of money in, which waives the appraisal composition of it. So if you put 30, 40, 50, some amount of money down. So that's what you're starting to see. Because let's face it, unless you need a 1031 exchange, unless you need to put your money someplace not to...
1031s are primarily commercial.
Primary commercial, very few and far between are they in the residential space.
Yeah.
But even if I had enough cash to buy, why would I do that at 3%? Why would I use my cash?
He's talking the opportunity cost of money when you can invest it in the market and
I
get
can give it to
potentially
the
7 to 12% return.
I can give it to the ERPs.
Yeah, Emergent Financial Services.
And say, please do something with it, right? And I put 20%, 30% down, and I still have that residual cash working for me.
I mean, there's something to be said, and I'm torn on this. And this is.
But the point I'm trying to make real quick,
okay, please.
is that that's a term that could make the difference. So it could be. I need to wait until I get a little bit more. But I'm seeing less competition against cash at certain price points, particularly the lower ones, than I am. The higher ones are typically more cash deals. It seems to be my personal experience. Excuse me.
So what's the first time home buyer going to do?
That's the reason I have a volaholic problem. I'm really trying to figure out how do you get Nicholas Earpy into that first house? And sometimes what you probably need to do is, if you have your 10 items you want to hit, that your wish list, right? Maybe you just need to settle at 2 and get in the game, because otherwise you're just paying somebody else's mortgage. Or you're paying somebody else's boat payment.
Yeah.
Not that happens, but somebody else's boat payment or whatever. So even if you get in at a townhome, maybe that's not the perfect condo. Those are a little bit tricky condos. Because
of the financing.
Because of the financing, and there's very few of them around here that really check that box well. But let's just say single-family detached or single-family attached, or what we call fee simple transactions. Even if it's not your perfect first house, get in there, stay in there.
I can speak to that. You want me to?
You've done it.
2008. Actually, this is very synonymous with what's happening now. 2008, I purchased my first place at the absolute worst time possible. I was in my mid-20s, fresh out of UVA, and I was reading in all these publications of how housing values were double-digit increasing, And as someone who's in their mid-20s, you don't have much patience or foresight. And
But this really's changed? That changed for you?
no, hold on.
You knew I was going there with that.
Very well done.
Yeah,
Very well done. Are you talking to my wife?
No, I was talking about our pre-show
Are you
conversation.
talking to my wife? In the green room.
In the green room. I have two wives. I have a Real Talk wife and my Mrs. Smith.
Okay. And we all mean well for
Or
you.
husband, I should say.
We all mean well for you. We all want the best
I
for
know,
you.
I know. Finish your story.
So in 2008, I purchased, and because I was reading the newspaper, I was reading online how housing values were upticking 10%, 10%, 10%. And I was like, you know what? I got to get in the game.
10% by week.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was obscene. Okay, it was obscene. And this was right before the bubble, right? Right before the time of
The great unpleasantness.
great unpleasantness. Neil Williamson.
I literally wake up in the middle of the night saying that. Thank you, Neil.
So I purchased, and my old man, a CPA and an entrepreneur himself, he's like, you need to wait. You need to wait. This is not sustainable. You need to wait. And I'm like, no, I'm going to get in the game. So I got in the game. I bought what I could afford at the time. I wanted single family detached because I had a dog. And I had the idea of a backyard, white picket fence, and a backyard for the dog. Lucy
You wanted the
around.
American dream.
Yeah, American dream. Couldn't afford it. Ended up buying a condo at the Villas at Southern Ridge, Fifth Street Extended. Long story short, 6 months later, the housing market went poo-poo. And then condo values were the first to get impacted when the housing market goes poo-poo. So long story
Why is that?
Well, you don't own the dirt.
Well,
You also share walls with other people, and you had a developer that pivoted his model from selling units to then renting them because the housing market cracked and he owned over 50% of them.
That's the struggle. Right
Yeah. So where I'm going at with this is
Same thing happened at Walker Square, by the way.
Yeah. Where I'm going with this is I didn't panic. I brought a couple buddies in. They rented the 2 of the 3 rooms from me. I rented those rooms to them for $400 a month. I covered all the utilities. Their $800 a month was essentially my mortgage payment. So I was able to hedge that way. I still own the property. It's free and clear of debt. And now I have $1,650 a month coming in that I'm tossing to the other properties that we have and paying those off faster as well. So the lesson learned there, and it's stung, and it's the school of hard knocks, is if you're patient, which I wasn't, but in the end I was, you're going to be okay.
Well,
because this is a hot area.
Yeah,
That's the lesson.
correct. So,
And now the values are higher than what I paid.
sure. And patience is always king, as those who watch the show knows I'm a Marine. Mr. Kerry is Army, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Kerry Rockus,
Kerry
yeah.
Rock, yeah. Mr. Rock, I should say. Panic is never a good thing, and that's one of the first things they kind of teach you is how to calm yourself down in a panic situation and keep your head about you. That's your survivability goes way through the roof. Rate where it goes through the roof. It's the same thing in that end of it. But look, the reality of it is now is always the right time, right? And Nick may not be ready because he wants to wait to get married or whatever, and God bless him on that end of it. But even if he got into something now, this 08, 09, 2010.
Kerry Rock says correct. That's Army.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you were right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. But he'll echo that. That's the first thing they teach you is to keep calm and cool and collective. But the reality of it is, you're going to increase this 3%, even if it goes a little bit lower. And it's interesting what some folks are doing now, and because the lending situations are changing a little bit, we've got to get Scott in this conversation.
Scotty Morris, we love you.
Let's get into this conversation. What you've done is very repeatable.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Scalable.
It's very scalable.
Yeah.
A very better choice of words. Right? You can get in, buy your first townhome. It's not exactly pleasant. It's not checking all 10 boxes, but it
I
checks.
think it checked like 1 box for me.
Correct.
I was almost like, this is true story. When I was at the closing table signing, I was almost disappointed.
Why is that?
Well, because everyone with the first time you purchase a piece of property, you have all these like hopes and dreams and ambitions and expectations. And these did not meet my hopes, dreams, expectations, and ambitions. but I was able to fix my overhead, and I knew if the you-know-what hit the fan, I had 2 rooms I can rent out to homies, to friends, and give them a deal, and then those 2 rent
So what are you
payments-
doing with that now? You're renting it.
I'm renting, interestingly, and it's not your family, but interestingly, a family called the Smiths. Father, wife, mom, dad, and 2 kids.
And I bet you're helping somebody that needs some help.
I am hooking them up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the lowest rent in that complex.
Yeah, but you're providing shelter to somebody
Yeah.
that needs it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So-
He's a general manager of a well-known retail store, and she's the retail chain, and she's a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids under 3.
So if you can get into the market, and some people just can't, right? Some people just can't do it for whatever reason. But if you can, and if you can acquire, and if you can buy your first home, it's really the time to do it. And we will do this. I'm trying to translate these first-time home buyers seminars that Yona and I do on a regular basis into this format. I haven't quite figured out how to do that. And get these answers, get these questions answered. The other thing I would love to do is bring like Johnny Orales on.
Johnny Ornelas, we love you.
Or the Erpies to add a little bit of multicultural, multilingual discussions, because the largest growing buyer profile.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I've got it worked out. I'm trying to figure out how I can structure it.
Or, here's an idea. Hint, Nicholas Erpy, Alex and Xavier, Keith Smith on Today y Mañana.
Yeah, I believe we've got that on the books for Yona and I. But I'm talking about something very specifically, because statistically, the largest growing buyer profile is the Latinx buyer. Along with the female, actually. Single female is one of the largest buying profile pools at the moment. But Latinx is growing.
November 18th, Nick Erpy said.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas Erpy.
Did you send me a calendar invite? I think he did.
Nicholas Erpy, he loves calendar invites, doesn't
Who,
he?
me?
Yes,
Yeah,
you love calendar.
Well,
Johnny Ornelas is watching.
Hey,
He says,
Johnny.
I like your idea.
Yeah, we're good. That's what it's been in my.
Love you, Johnny Ornelas.
It's been cooking in between these 2 ears and this little bit of gray matter I got between them on how we can do it, make it approachable, make it entertaining, and do that. It may be, you're 100% right, that may be a co-venture with the Erpies on that. That's actually making a lot of sense.
Dude, just a hint for the Erpy family, if you guys can be the go-to media outlet for the Hispanic and Latino community here in Central Virginia, imagine the influence you could have. Just throwing that out there. Nicholas Erpy.
So interesting statistic. The last time we were in this kind of, and I'm probably going to come up with an unpleasant topic for folks at the moment, but
I love when conversations start
like that. So the last time, if you go and do the research, the last time, and Nicholas can verify this because he's the history major, the history buff. The last time we were in this kind of housing shortage was in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And if you, and we talked about this before, zoning really didn't happen in this state until the late 60s, in some counties around, and not into the 70s on that end of it. But if you go and drive through like Belmont and some of these, or 10th and West, or some of these particular areas that were built in the late 1800s and the early 1910, between 1910 and 1920, you see all these duplexes around, and you see all these quads around, and you see all these threeplexes around. You say, well, how the hell did they get approved? Well, they got approved was A, they didn't have a zoning, and B, the market said, we need housing, and the market went and did it on that end of it. So it's an interesting thing. I think we're making a little bit what's old is new again. We're making a kind of a full circle back to that, where we're formally saying this is, missing middle is that's what we're talking about here is a good thing. I think it's a good thing from my perspective. It helps the inventory thing anyway.
Dude.
What time is it?
It's show, right?
Geez, sorry.
No, it's amazing. Batman and Robin.
Well, should we
go ahead.
Yeah, so
Keith and I will not.
Well, go ahead, you finish it.
Keith and I will not be hosting Friday's show. Instead, who do we have?
We have actually Batman and Robin
We have
showing,
Cape Crusaders.
showing up. Yeah, it's their annual visit. They come around, Halloween every year, and they're gonna. I think. I don't
Say
know.
hello to Michael Guthrie, watching the program.
Hey, Michael Guthrie. I think they might talk a little bit about how important it is to get out to vote and elections matter. I don't know. They haven't told me what they want to talk about.
Cape Crusaders in the saddle, taking the Batmobile, parking it on Market Street.
Alfred's going to be here too, right?
Alfred, is Alfred going to be here? Alfred better be here.
And the Bat Dog. Bat Dog.
Bat Dog, Alfred, Batman, Robin on Friday's program. Get ready, prepare yourself, send out the bat signal. Make sure you have Judah, what was it, the Batman tool belt? What's it called?
The Bat Belt.
The Bat Belt? Yeah, the Bat
It's
Belt.
utility belt. It's
Yeah.
utility belt.
Utility belt.
Utility belt. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's can Batman fit in his spandex? Robin's good for his spandex.
Yeah.
Can Batman fit in his spandex? Batman's been riding his bicycle a lot lately.
Yes, but with COVID, Batman's also been eating a lot of ice cream in the evening. Don't tell my wife
Explain
about
to me how COVID translates to you eating ice cream.
it. Doesn't,
in
but
the
that was just an excuse.
evening.
I was just trying to make an excuse for
Okay.
me to eat more ice.
Okay.
I thought you were hooking me up. I thought you were my buddy.
I am your buddy. I am your buddy.
Yeah, no, I've got a really bad sweet tooth, so I love ice cream.
So Friday, guys, the Cape Crusaders on set. Judah Wickower is the director, a.k.a. Alfred. Keith Smith, the distinguished gentleman, a.k.a. Batman. Batman's real name is what? Judah?
Adam West.
No. Bruce Wayne.
Oh, Adam West is the actor.
Bruce Adam West, the actor. Robin's real name is what, Judah? Don't say Chris O'Donnell. Keith Smith.
Well, I would have to say the Adam West kind of one, which I can't think of.
Well, who's Robin's real name?
Oh, God.
There's Dick Grayson, there's
I think it's Dick Grayson, isn't it?
multiple.
Robin's name changed on it?
Well, there were multiple Robins.
Well, no. I'm talking about his name on, not the actor's name.
Yeah.
The Bruce Wayne version of Robin.
I know, I'm talking about in the comic books, there were multiple Robins. One of them died, one of them
That's right.
Oh.
That's right.
This is why we needed him to have a microphone.
One of them moved on and became Nightwing.
That's right.
Night Wayne.
That's right.
Okay, Night
But
Wayne.
most people don't know Robin did die.
How did Robin die?
Oh, you have to watch the show on Friday. We'll talk about that.
Am I dying
Nah,
on
we're-
Friday?
You keep this shit up, you will be. Just saying. Are we still live? We are still live.
We
If
are
you keep that
still
stuff up,
live. Oh gosh.
you keep this stuff up, Miller.
Oh gosh. All right, guys.
I
get
got to go to
you-
work.
No,
Mrs.
dude.
Smith is texting me.
And can you, dude? We came in here in the green room. We weren't sure what we're, and it's
I look.
great work today, homie.
Look, the round tables are great. I love doing them, but and I've said this last time we've done this. These are the ones I have the most fun at. This just jacks. I just have a ton of fun shooting from the hip. Literally,
think
we
the
had
guests
no.
like it too.
We had no notes, and it's just great fun. Love doing it.
Guy, are you referring to Johan Torres, Johnny? Oh, that's the Latino realtor that was on Today y Mañana. I think he might be referring to that, Nicholas Erpy. And Robin died multiple times during the comics, was put in the feed.
So, I just like getting dressed up in spandex. Oops, did I say that out loud? Oops, did I say that out loud?
This is real talk on a glorious Tuesday.
Yeah, well, are you going to end it like
morning.
with the visual like that? You got to recover a little bit.
Do you
from
have
that.
the photos of Keith and I that you could put on screen?
There may be one.
In fact,
Are we going to promote this? a
oh,
little
we
bit?
are going to promote it. J-Dubs, you don't have to put it up now. Let's get it on the social media. Let's get it on the I Love Seville network this week. And if we can get it on today, that would be great. We got some blackmail photos for us that we're going to put
Blackmail,
on there right there. Two dudes in spandex doing karate chopping.
Look. In order to blackmail,
My mask couldn't even fit on my eyes. Do you remember?
well, we talked about how I'm going to work on my mask.
Yeah, do you want to tell them or you want to wait?
I've had a conversation with my special effects daughter, and I went out.
His daughter.
So I went out and
This is true. This is true.
I went out. I don't want to tell it now.
You should
I don't want to
tell
tell
him.
it.
Tell
I
him.
went out and bought a mannequin head. And stretching because it's latex.
Where do you buy a mannequin?
Amazon. Where else would you buy anything like that?
You ordered a mannequin head and it was delivered to your house.
In a box,
And
brown
you-
paper box. Nobody knew what it was. I had to unwrap it, and then I'm blow drying it to get it to stretch. It was horrible. It was popping
I'm
off. It was
crying.
popping off of my head. It was horrible.
I'm crying.
I couldn't see.
He's got
And
a mannequin head stretching out his latex Batman mask.
So you said something about blackmail. So in order for blackmail to work, I'd have to actually be embarrassed by it.
I know, neither you nor I have any shame.
We have zero shame.
How often do you hear that? I hear that all the time.
I have
no shame.
Yeah, I have no. Yeah, I pretty much do anything.
I know, me too. That's why the show works. I love this guy. His
Pretty
name is
much
Keith
do it,
Smith, guys. Yes Realty Partners. Keith Smith, Yes Realty Partners. If he's willing to get a mannequin head from Amazon to stretch out his latex Batman mask
So
to
we
wear
can
it
do a
for you
decent
on
show.
Friday, you know you can count on him to help you buy and sell a home.
I don't know how that's going to work because I can't put my eyeglasses on it, and I'm at a point right now I can't even see my phone without my eyeglasses. It's an age thing,
I understand.
and so I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to have fun.
We always do. This is Real Talk, guys, presented by Interstate Service Company, Yes Realty Partner, Charlottesville Settlement Company, Pearl Certification,
Keller
Dairy
Williams-
Market,
Keller Williams Alliance,
Keller Williams Alliance, Scott Morris.
Scott Morris,
You know, we'll give some love to Dave Fafara, Shenandoah Joes.
absolutely.
I mean,
Thank you to everybody that sponsors because we can't have this fun without you. So
Amen,
thank
brother.
you, and please support these local folks. They're
Support.
running across the screen on the bottom.
amen, brother. Amen, brother. Thank you for joining us, guys. The I Love Seville show is up in 51 minutes. We will catch you soon. Alex Erpy. That's what you're gonna ask.
I went like this,
And
and I
then you held
realized
back.
I went, oh, today's Tuesday. Got it.
Alex Erpy is our guest today.
I pulled my finger back quickly.
I
Didn't
could
see
tell.
that?
I could tell. The chemistry. All right, guys. You guys have a good day. We'll see you very soon. Take care. Keith, that was an excellent show. Could you not tell that was an excellent show? That show was dynamite.
I have. I love